Hello everybody and welcome back to the Beginner's Guide How-To series on Stellaris. This is a follow-up from the previous one we were doing about the kind of starter days, tips and tricks. We were discussing this little section here, and I want to continue that because there's some things that I want to point out that really help you as a new player get yourself going. So the first thing is the market. Market is local, it's not galactic. It will become galactic, which kind of makes things a little bit better for you, but don't worry about that. When it just pop up, don't worry too much. One thing I want to look at is when we have a surplus in supplies, that we've got a surplus in 11k food, there's a couple of things we can do. The first one is sell it. Keeps your credits up because at the moment we're in a negative for credits because we're working on a few things. Not an issue. You can just sell the things that you've got a positive in to keep them up and running. Not good for long term, but good for a short term. So keep that in mind for the market. You can also buy things as well. Okay. So, market, make sure you utilise that as best as you can. Planets and sectors I want to cover when we do get another sector. We can use it now. So basically what you do is you can auto build. So you can set it. So when I said to you earlier about thinking about what you want to do, do you want it to do research, do you want it to do constructions? This is basically doing it for you. So you choose what focus you want. So for our core systems, which is Earth, and it's also the Alpha Centauri, that's a part of the same sector, you can set it to go, okay, I want a balance focus, I want a production focus, a manufacturing focus, or a research focus. I'll put balanced.
Construction completed.
Because it's our first one, we want to keep it balanced, we don't want to emphasize on one or two things. You can then transfer what resources you have out of energy and minerals. So you can choose to, so we'll put
construction
such
completed.
like that, 4k. So that means you've got 4k resources, and what it'll do is it'll actually build for you. So it's already started. So it will then produce balancing factors for us.
Construction completed.
So it should help us out. So if you want to concentrate on just getting your fleets done and not worrying too much on that, you use the planets and sectors. If you want to stop it, just go back to your sector setting, hit the disable button, and you can do it yourself again. And you can get a breakdown as well if you click on it. Shows you each planet. So what it's going to try and do now is it's going to try and make everything there positive on both them planets. So we can leave that be. Our expansion planner, so we can see all of the planets nearby to us. Now, as we've colonised, okay, what have we got here? As we've colonised the planets that are in our area already, if you click on is colonisable, there isn't any. But we surveyed plenty of planets, so we can have a look at the future, what we've got available, and that's nice. So that's a nice planet there, that's a nice planet there. So we want to be looking at trying to get to them in a later stage. That one as well is decent. So you can see an aim for something that you want to do, which is good for us. It's good to know what you want to go towards. Okay. Once it does become colonisable and it's in your system, you can colonise it from this planet, from this section here as well, which is good to know. Your policies, so you can actually set policies. Now, the default to what the race kind of sets itself to, but you can actually change this, so you can actually allow resettlements. You can allow, well, it's already allowing native enlightenment. All these things you can work in. You can change, and you can really set yourself your own gameplay style. This is what I'm on about. This game is all about your own gameplay style. So, there's just so many endless possibilities with this game. Not one or another game is the same, ever. You could play it exactly the same, but your AI is going to respond differently. Something's going to be different about it. And that's the brilliant thing about it. If you want to be the Imperium of Man, you can be the Imperium of Man. You can go out there and conquer and kill anything alien and bring in whatever human races there are into your fold and convert them into the Imperium of Man. That's what they tend to do. They tend to destroy anything that's alien and then take on board anything that's human. Okay. So, then policies are great to work with. Edicts. Now, this is something really useful. So, you can actually start campaigns which improve certain things. And as you start getting things, so as soon as you start getting your volatile gases and stuff like that, and you can use these ones as well, which is like ammunition, explosives, reactive armor, really good for when you're at war, but you need the exotics for that. But the ones that we have got available, are really useful. You can increase your population growth from immigration. You can increase your survey speed.
Construction completed.
It's worthwhile having a look at some of these. You can increase your food.
Knowledge
And it's
is the key
using
to the universe.
these. Well, it tells you here what they're using. So then for your energy credits, so you can have population growth speed, consumer goods upkeep, and leader experience. They're your energy credits usage, and these ones are your influence. Worthwhile looking at them. They're good to use. They give you a little early boost. We've discussed about the traditions. Our ship designer and our fleet manager we've discussed as well. Technology is just your technology for... Oh, we've got one here. Starbase capacity. Factions, which are factions within your organisation. So you can... they set their own little factions up. You can manage them. You can embrace, promote or suppress. And they'll have an effect on your population and keeping people happy and stuff like that. So have a look into that. I won't go into too much detail because factions can be quite messy, and it's more later down the line that you need to worry about them. But it's just worth knowing about them now. Claims. Now this is one thing people tend to not realise when they come to. Okay. So this is one thing people are always asking: how do I take other people's stuff? And how do I conquer? And this game is a little bit different in that terms. You don't just invade and take over it. You make claims, or you can invade and take over. Oh, we'll just get our research on. Oh yes, always like a star hold. Let's go back to our claims. So you can actually lay claim to an enemy's areas. If you go to war with them and you win the war, you will actually get the claims. So not necessarily even if you've not, if you're not actually in a position to take them, you can still gain them by winning the war. So it's worthwhile. So you just pick. So if you want to take them 4, oh, I misclicked there. Back to our claims. So you want to take them 4. Each one of them will cost you influence. So if you want to make claim on them 4 now, it costs us half of our influence really. And then when we go to war with them, we can have a chance of getting them. Species just tells you about what species are in your kind of your worlds and stuff like that. At the moment we are just human. We don't have any kind of immigration or anything like that. We will do it at a later stage. And our leaders gives us an overlook on who our leaders are. So our scientists, our governor, which is on Earth, and our admiral, which is on the fleet. And I think, oh yeah, and that's our ship there as well. Okay, so that's this area explained. Hopefully I've gone through it enough for you to understand what each one does and how it affects us. If not, then just leave me a comment and I'll go through a little bit more with you. We'll just upgrade our fleet because we've got new armour. Okay, we've got another person who's... Okay, so they're... Not quite sure where they are.
Completed.
Well, they're somewhere. Oh, they could be. Worthwhile keeping an eye out. Okay, so we've expanded our area because we've used the edict, so we can look at that. Plenty of Empire Sprawl now, and it's not costing us anything extra whatsoever. So I'm on about if you play it correctly, you can keep yourself in the positive. Now I know my energy credits are reduced because I've done a few little bits and bobs. I'm not too worried about that because I know I can increase my energy credits quite easily. But it's all about that, playing it nice and slowly. You don't necessarily have to rush into things because you're worried about losing the chance of taking something out or something like that. There's always ways around things, and this is what I've done. I've done it nice and slowly. We developed our researches, we developed our policies and stuff like that. So we've now got ourselves a nice good Empire Sprawl. We've locked off these areas here. We've got defense platforms in these areas as well. So we're in a good position now. We're in a position where we can hold our own at least. Let's see how we're faring with our enemies. See, we're now equivalent. We're still they're the keepers of knowledge, so they will be always overwhelming. But you see, we're starting to stand our own ground now, so they'll start thinking twice about attacking us, which is what you want. The one we want here is the Pakikiti, because they're the ones blocking us from everything. And as you can see, their fleet power is still superior compared to ours. Now, if you remember, if you've looked at the episode about shipbuilding, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to beat us. It just means that according to statistics, they've got more fleets than us. Doesn't mean they're stronger than us. So, we're going to take a look now. I'm actually going to hold down to here, because this is where I want to expand to. There's two planets there, 2 decent planets as well. So I want to bring them to our fold. They can't spread to there because we've got something blocking them off, but they're also blocking us off. So again, it's all thinking about, you know, the future. You know, where do we want to expand to, and how are we going to do it? Now, we've only got the 1 fleet, which is what's costing us energy credits, to be fair, and it's slowed our ally production down. It leaves us open in these 2 areas here. That area is on its own anyway. It leaves us open in this back end here for this alien to attack us, which is why we've upgraded this. So we've got no defense platforms yet, but it does have a gun battery and a missile battery and a disruption field. So we'll chuck it with a couple of defense platforms on each one. I say a couple, I've done 4. 4 on each. That should hold them off, and should give us the opportunity to be able to get out and explore this kind of area here. You're building. So I want to expand him to there once he's built them. So we've got all of our area in there. So it's just this area that's been blocked off. Now, sending the fleet down here, we should hopefully get a reading on what fleets they have. We can actually get our science vessel wherever he is. I don't know where our science vessel's gone. You're somewhere. Oh, I think he's expanded into... Oh, he has, look there. Okay, so the galactic market has appeared. We can promote it on one of our worlds. Oh, so we can choose to promote one of our worlds for this purpose. There we go. Galactic hub, galactic market hub nomination. So we can, so it costs us 1,000 energy credits and 150 influence. But I'm going to head it anyway, because it'll be good for us, because all trade and everything, it'll just be really good for us to have that. So bear that in mind if you want to do that. Don't worry about that too much, that's just more in-depth things if you want to look into in-depth. But I'm going to give ourselves a leader here. Where are we? We'll just do the upkeep cost. And I'm going to send this near the systems, just so we can hopefully... Now they've left the borders open to us, so we can actually pass through and do more research on the other side. So that's good, that means that ship will continue. To affect that, you'll see it here. They consider us their rival. And they've got a chaos belly on us. What that basically means is they're signing us up to take out some of our planets, but we don't need to worry about that too much. So if you want to try and open borders with someone that's closed borders, then you've got to go into research. Into communication, sorry, not research. And you've got to try and get them to open their borders. One thing to note, them closing their borders to you doesn't mean it necessarily closes your border to them. So where we can't get into their place, they can quite easily go straight through ours. So here, if this empire here was an enemy empire that wanted to spread, he could literally just pass right through us and hit there and completely block us off. Now obviously we're being blocked off by this one here, but if we take this one out, we still gain access again. Whereas if this one wants to take us out, they could quite easily do it by pinning us between 2 locations. And if they've built there and there and they've got a border close to us, we can't get in or out. So they can easily spread. And that's where you've got to be careful. Keep an eye out on that. Okay, so we've talked about all of this. We've talked about little things to keep an eye out. We've got our fleets moving to try and scope out the enemy. The next thing really for us to do is to start expanding our systems a little bit more. So we can get more star bases. We've got 2 more star bases coming with the research. So again, it's all about developing your area. Another thing we've got to be careful of is we're now bleeding credits, so we can have a look at what we could do to increase our credit production. You can do that by a number of ways. You can do it by expanding here, so all of these here are all credits, energy credits, all of these. So we can actually look at which I probably will do. I'll probably take there first and then move my way back. Okay, more aliens. So we're in a strong position. We're a little bit better off than we were before. We've got potential of another planet there that's in our system now. So realistically, it's down to how you want to play it. We have one colonizable there. So let's colonize it. Let's send a colony ship. There we go. So that'll do it all for us. It'll build the ship and send it out to that planet. Happy days. That should still remain in our Sol sector as well, which is good for us. Okay, so realistically, that's about it for us here. Learning the kind of basics of this kind of starting phase. We're now going to start progressing into a little bit more in depth about like combat and little combat techniques and stuff like that. And these are things that you need to be wary of. But for that to happen, we need to get ourselves in a war. And wars are expensive, so you need to prepare yourself. Make sure you're ready for that. It will cost you a fortune. All your resources will drop. Not to mention the cost to your fleet. But remember, the more fleet you lose, the less upkeep you have. So there is that positive. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. I'm going to keep it short and sweet.
Survey concluded.
Oh, don't matter. That's an exotic resource that you definitely want. You want any exotic resources. They're really useful to trade, and they're also useful for the little updates, the edicts here, these here. Now there isn't any for dark matter, but dark matter is good for some bigger ships and stuff like that. I believe the Leviathan, if you've got the Leviathan DSC, it uses some of the exotic stuff to build that ship, and the Titan as well. That's end game. Well, mid to late game it is. And that's one thing I haven't actually mentioned is the early, mid, and late game, or end game. There's 3 phases in this game. The early game lasts for quite a while. For us, it'll be at least another 40 years on the game. We're on normal speed at the moment, so it's going quite slow. Then mid will begin, and then late game will begin. Now, depending on what you set it when you've created your map, will depend on when it all starts. But it has a specific kind of phase to it. So the end game starts when you start getting the enigmatic empires. You start getting fallen empires appearing out of wormholes. That's what these little gateways are here. These will activate. That's your end game, and it is messy. Now he's actually surveying that there, so I'm actually going to stop that and get it down there as quick as possible, because he's going to cut us off and we don't want that. So yeah, so there's a lot to do in this game. We're very, very early into it. So I'm going to pause it here. We're going to pop back in a second when hopefully we can attack an enemy and see what combat phase is like. Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we are at war with the Misharan, which we expected. So let's head on in. As you can see,
Spaceport under fire.
our spaceport should actually be able to hold itself. Now, we did get a caravan destroyer, and I don't really want to lose it, so I want to keep an eye on him. Oh, Racket Industrial Enterprises. Another destroyer. Yes, I will take another destroyer. Okay, so he's getting damaged quite considerably. So we can call a retreat on him.
Construction completed.
So we didn't lose him. I don't think. Did we lose him? Right, it's okay, because look at that. Our space station held on. Excellent. No, we didn't lose him. Good. So that's what I'm saying to you, even though I will take another destroyer. So even though we haven't got a strong fleet, and as far as they're concerned, we are quite weak, so that's why they've attacked us, our spaceports have held their own quite nicely as well.
Construction completed.
So I'm just going to create another science vessel, because when you destroy, where are we? Science ship there.
We have detected hostiles.
Oh, more. And they're going to get through. Now they can bypass your star bases, which is exactly what he's done.
Construction completed.
Okay, let's just pause that second. Well met. Right, so I've put all of our fleets here. Now I want to put him. Let's get a leader. Recruit leader. No research speed really, we could do with moving him around. So we've got our science vessel, and as you can see we've got a timed project. Oh, there's no way to reach this project. Okay, we'll just pop it there because there's an enemy fleet, so it won't go in. So the one thing we want to do is so we have our fleet here, the first fleet. We want to merge all of our fleets into one. Ah, there it is. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong bloody place. Merge, there we go. So they'll all merge into one fleet now. I won't necessarily suggest that if you're, trying to keep the fleets in multiple locations, but as you can see, the enemy are attacking us. They're going to go Congarth there. So we want to place our fleet there. Because they've avoided... Yeah, they're there. So they've avoided our space station this time. There we go. So let's move our fleet in and cut them off. Here we go. So they're trying to take the weaker space station. If you look, even though we are slightly stronger, we've pushed them back quite considerably because we've got a mixture. Remember, looking at the space, the fleet construction that we had on the episode before last, we've got a better chance of surviving because we've got a good mixture.
Knowledge is the key to the universe.
Okay, you're done. Let's continue. So now it's all about trying to find balance, everything at once. We've got a war, which
knowledge
they
is the key
are
to
losing
the
quite considerably. As you can see, that
evasive maneuvers.
I'll discuss this more as we hold off our fleets again. Where are they going? They're going back for more, apparently. Okay, so let's just pause a second. This guy research is going. Let's increase our research. Ooh, defense platform hull points. That's nice. Okay, yeah, we'll do that one. Okay, so let's take this fleet out again. No, you don't. See how they're trying to avoid us?
Engaging hostile
There we
forces.
go. You can drag them in. There we go. Get in there. Excellent. And we've took them out again. Obviously our fleet are taking losses. Let's merge the fleets together. So if we head over, they can reinforce us with our losses. We've still got a strong fleet, so I'm going to push it into Wymos because they're bringing
Interstellar debris analysed.
Excellent. So, a couple of things I want to point out. So we'll hit a pause there. So we've got a few things going. First one is obviously the timed researches. When you destroy fleets, they leave debris, which is good for you because you can research the debris, and you can gain yourself a lot of points towards. So here we've got cold fusion power, physics research and engineering research. That can be a good boost to your research abilities. There's an argument to say that there's a lot of profit in war if you can survive, especially if the attacking force isn't you. If you're a defending force, the likelihood is you're going to survive that unless they've got overwhelming forces. As you can see, they can't even break through our star bases. But the one thing I wanted to point out is when they came through here, they avoided the starbase, which is quite easy to do. So even though you've got a strong starbase here, which has got plenty of defense platforms, which on its own can survive quite well, they will easily avoid it by going this way. So you want at least a small force around here patrolling it, because if they attack the small force, they come in closer, or at least if they get in within range of the small force will engage them, bringing them closer into the space station, who will then attack them. So that's one thing to point out. The next thing is your actual war. So if you click on this little icon on the bottom right here, it'll show you how the war is doing. Obviously we are winning massively. But there's a thing called war exhaustion, and it ticks over constantly as you're going through. So if you just let it go, it'll just keep going and keep going and keep going until one person hits the war exhaustion, and then they're forced to surrender, which is the peace offer, settle status quo. If they lose the war exhaustion, they will have to settle status quo. They can't turn it down. If you want to humiliate, which is our current war goal, then you have to batter them quite considerably until they are likely to accept it. At the moment, they are unlikely to accept it. Obviously, the more war exhaustion they have, the more likely they will. Obviously, if you've got a stronger navy strength, that will also help them to have to take on the basically the loss. Peace offer is status quo, as it says. It's just right in the middle for both of you. Nobody gains anything. They don't get their claimed territory. You don't get anything off them. So that one's easier to go for. And as you can see, as you start to beat them more, you can actually get it quite early on. You don't have to wait until their exhaustion is at 100%. So currently we're doing really well. So do we head for a status quo or do we continue? Well, we're gaining a lot from them smashing their fleets up against us. So we'll continue the war for now. And then when we're ready to move on somewhere else, or when it's costing us enough money, then we can look at cutting the war out and cutting everything off and getting ourselves back to normal. So as you can see, they're going to try and they're trying to take out planets as well. That's what they're heading for. And they've got the fleet there. Just only a small fleet left now. We've smashed most of it.
Knowledge is the key to the universe.
Okay. We've got more technology.
Construction completed.
What have we got here?
We have detected hostiles.
So, as we gained a little bit from the cold fusion, it's actually unlocked the cold fusion reactor for us, which is good for us, so we're going to do that. It warns you about fleet detection. It's moving around here, so it'll pick it up for you, and long range sensors. These little U's here are FDL inhibitors, so it slows you down from jumping out of the planets. It can be a bit of a pain, that, so you've got to bear that in mind. Oh, a megastructure. We'll get onto that at a later stage. So that's the war, that's the combat. Some things to point out. Oh, I forgot here. Yeah, you're going there. You're researching there, excellent. And our fleet's not doing too bad. So, the likelihood is they probably won't attack us again. So I'm actually going to send my fleet back to upgrade and repair. It upgrades itself as it's near a starbase anyway, so you don't need to worry about that. You can force it to go to a starbase to repair, but we'll upgrade the fleet and then we'll look at either reinforcing it or actually it is already reinforcing it for us. I must have clicked the reinforce button by mistake, so that's what these two here. So we've got ourselves a, what have we got here? Mass drive corvette and a kinetic point defense corvette. Okay. So that's everything for this episode. Hopefully you've learned a lot from this episode. There's been a lot in it. There's a lot of information. It's information overload sometimes. But yeah, hopefully you're enjoying the game. Hopefully it'll help you in your series, your games, whatever you want to do. Remember, as always,
we have detected hostiles.
It's cut me off there. It looks like they're trying to move in further.
We have detected hostiles.
That's okay. It's only a small fleet. A small fleet can still do damage if they avoid your stations, by the way. Worth noting. But I'll just pause it so we don't get disrupted. So yeah, as always, if you've got anything that you want to ask or add to, then please do so. This guide's all about trying to help people out learning Stellaris. Stellaris is a hell of a game to try and learn. It's got a lot of information on it. It's got a lot of things you can and can't do that aren't necessarily open to you straight away, or at least obvious for you. So yeah, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the series. Or certainly if you like anything else, or if you want to check out any more of my guides or gameplays. And remember, hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed it, and hit the notification to be notified when I put more up. Until next time, everybody, take care for now. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye bye.